WJHG TV, Channel 7, Panama City.
Good evening, I'm Glenn Austin. So far, reports from Tampa tonight show that things have calmed down somewhat since last night. Friday evening was the second night of rioting in a neighborhood that's claiming police brutality. Black leaders say the riot was a reaction to the death of a black man who died in police custody last Wednesday night. 14 people were arrested Friday evening, wherein 40 young people were throwing rocks and bottles at patrol cars. A rainy night in Tampa this evening has kept violence from erupting again. Police and other black leaders are urging all young people to stay off the streets in the affected areas. A blue ribbon panel this week began hearings on possible ways to revise Florida's malpractice laws. Joe Moore reports tonight that the group wants to have its recommendation ready for the legislature in April.
A medical malpractice task force in Tallahassee is seeking a legislative solution to the problem of Florida's rising insurance premiums. Florida's Lieutenant Governor Bobby Brantley this week urged the panel to come up with proposals by the 1st of April so Florida lawmakers can consider them during this year's regular legislative session.
And if it is bad doctors, and there's another group, a working committee that has been meeting over the last couple of weeks, looking at the issue of repeat offender doctors or doctors who have repeat claims filed against them. And in many cases, those claims, they're settled out of court, so there's no finding of guilt on the part of the doctor. So, yeah, I think there's a whole network of problems there, and I'm not sure that anyone knows exactly how to get to the bottom line answer to the whole problem, but we're doing everything we can to do that.
Some doctors in Florida have withdrawn from high-risk specialties because they cannot afford the rising malpractice insurance rates. Joe Moore, TV7 News.
An elderly Panama City woman whose home was damaged by a fire received a helping hand today from the newly formed Senior Citizens Security Program. Sally Fazio has the details.
Hannah Blackshear's home was damaged by fire last November, but the elderly Panama City woman was unable to have the home repaired until today, when the Senior Citizens Security Group volunteered to donate their time to help.
The inside of her house was totally burned in the back, and there was a lot of trash, a lot of burned wood. Just Ronnie can tell you more about what's all back there. It just looks terrible, and it's been here since November, so we're here to clean it up and fix it up and get it livable.
Okay, we figure today we'll probably get it cleaned out on the inside, stuff stacked, you know, and boxed away for her, because you don't want to throw away everything. Okay, and then we're going to come back. We're going to try to get another team up for next weekend, get some materials over here, and see if we can't start remodeling the place.
The elderly woman was at first hesitant to accept the group's help.
She could not understand why would anyone want to come in and do this for her. She thought that we were coming in to take her belongings. She thought we were looking to help ourselves, that we wanted money in the end. And I simply told her about love.
Well, I'm just excited. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it.
The Senior Citizens Security Program was recently formed to help the elderly, like Hannah Blackshear, who are unable to afford security locks or maintenance work in their homes. But the program does need more volunteers. Anyone wishing to get involved can call the group at 235-2947. Sally Fazio, TV7 News.
Medical students don't usually get a chance to work with real patients during their training, but at the University of Florida's Health Science Center, some future doctors are getting the next best thing. Jackie Kurtz explains.
Once third-year medical student Russell Johnson goes into practice, he'll be taking patient histories and doing physical exams for the rest of his professional life. And thanks to a program now being tested at the University of Florida's Health Science Center in Gainesville, he's getting some hands-on experience while still a student. Not with a real patient, but with a standardized patient who's been trained to simulate an actual medical problem.
You don't, as often as it would be nice, look at students actually taking a history and doing a physical examination on a patient. It's very time-consuming for the faculty to do that. And this is one mechanism for accomplishing that.
Here's Here's how the program works. Each student is given the opportunity to examine a standardized patient. The patient has been trained to give each student a particular medical history and a set of symptoms, but he or she cannot volunteer any additional information. It's up to the student to ask the right questions, come up with some possible diagnoses, and then recommend further tests. The session is monitored through a one-way mirror. It's also videotaped so that the student and the professor can go over the session and discuss any possible problems. Experts evaluate not just the diagnosis, but also the student's patient rapport, examination technique, and so on. Organizers of the program say it will help such future doctors improve their medical skills.
It's very important to the learning process to get feedback as we go along. So I see this as principally a feedback mechanism, a formative evaluation mechanism.
Starting with somebody who's not sick and working your way through it and getting the techniques down, I think it would really be very helpful.
The standardized patient program is still in the trial stage, but if it is successful, experts hope to make it a permanent part of the students' training. From the University of Florida's Health Science Center, this is Jackie Kurtz reporting.
Stamps depicting everything from children's literature to the Hungarian inflation era are part of Bay County's the annual stamp show here. Sally Fazio has more.
Stamp exhibits are supposed to tell a story. This one shows you what song a stamp might choose if it could sing. And these stamps show single-engine biplanes in various modes of flight. These are all part of the Panpack Stamp Show commemorating the 50th anniversary of the downtown post office. It's a chance for other collectors and for the public to see just who's collecting what in the Bay County Stamp Club.
We bring in dealers other than the local dealer so that they have a different selection of stamps to look at. It gives them all a chance to fill in those empty holes in their albums. And generally, to emphasize stamp collecting in general and make people aware that the post office works with us on this, and they can always go down there and get the new issues, things that they might think they might not be able to find anymore, but still can at the regular post office.
It's also a chance for young people to get involved in the hobby of stamp collecting. This exhibit of U.S. horse stamps was put together by 5th grader Sierra Conroy, and these kids are coloring some stamps of their own. There's also something for the beginner, a table where correct procedures and equipment use are demonstrated. The show runs through tomorrow at the Marina Civic Center. Sally Fazio, TV7 News.
The guys at Car and Drive are pretty impressed with the Mazda 323. They know what they're talking about. They say, and I quote, "It conveys a feeling of structural integrity and heft that belies its small size," unquote. What they're saying is, it's a small road car. They also say, quote, "It's one impressive machine, not only a solid driving package, but a solid value as well," unquote. I tell everybody it's the best small car I've ever driven. Of course, nobody ever quotes me.
Monday only at the Fabric Center, get 22% off every bolt of cloth in stock. Special clearance prices on 4 model sewing machines at the Fabric Center, 11th Street Center.
The New York Times tomorrow reports that President Reagan chaired a top-level meeting last year in which the assassination of Colonel Muammar Gaddafi was discussed. Andrea Mitchell has more.
According to investigative reporter Seymour Hersh, when American jets bombed Tripoli last April, their real target was Gaddafi. Quoting unnamed sources supposedly involved in the planning, tomorrow's New York Times magazine says the White House's secret plan was to kill the Libyan leader. The bombs missed. The raid did damage Gaddafi's tent and house, killing an adopted daughter, injuring his wife and other children, but Gaddafi survived. The New York Times says the plan was hatched by former NSC officials also involved in the Iran scandal.
The information I have is that there was a small group inside the NSC that was working that included Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North and a few other officers that were responsible for some of the basic planning. Also, I should say, there's no question what the Air Force was told. There's a lot of question about who exactly in the White House was telling them and how those orders originated. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said through a spokesman that while he had heard some talk and some bantering about killing Gaddafi, no such orders existed that he knew of. What I think happened is I think we have a very brilliantly done, I guess, back-channel operation. If they did get Gaddafi, there was going to be nothing in the records to show that he had been targeted. If they didn't get him, why, of course, what's the difference?
The cover story was that the raid was aimed at a command and control center and the barracks of Gaddafi's Praetorian Guard nearby. None of those structures were hit. Gaddafi's location was supposedly pinpointed by Israeli intelligence, which placed him in his tent a few hours before the bombing. That night, the president justified the raid by attacking Gaddafi as a terrorist.
Despite our repeated warnings, Gaddafi continued his reckless policy of intimidation, his relentless pursuit of terror. He counted on America to be passive. He counted wrong.
The New York Times says that President Reagan was at a meeting last January 6th when Oliver North suggested ways to provoke and kill Gaddafi. The White House flatly denies that there was ever a plan to kill Gaddafi. Tonight, a spokesman told me if we had targeted Gaddafi's house, there would have been many people at the NSC and at other agencies who knew about it. And he said he has checked tonight with top officials still at the NSC, the State Department, and the Pentagon involved in the planning for that raid, and they all deny that there was ever an assassination attempt.
Members of the Tower Commission returned to the Bethesda Naval Hospital this morning to again question former National Security Advisor Robert McFarland on his role in the Iranian arms contra-aid scandal. Commission members John Tower, Edmund Muskie, and Bent Scrowcroft had visited McFarland in his hospital room earlier this week. McFarland continues to be hospitalized following an apparent suicide attempt. Almost 2 weeks ago, McFarland had ingested at least 25 Valium tablets. Commission members did not speak with reporters following today's meeting. The National Governors Association opened up its annual winter meeting in Washington today. Governors will attend workshops on the environment, jobs, education, and agriculture during its 4-day conference. The focal point of this year's meeting will be a welfare reform initiative called Making America Work. Its purpose is twofold: to bring back America's competitive edge in the international economy and to prevent the need for people to depend on the nation's welfare system. A colorful exhibit of new inflatable robots called Babots has opened in Tokyo. Babots are made of nylon film, which is inflated like a balloon, and they have their movements controlled by steel wires. The revolutionary new robots have been designed in the forms of animals, clowns, and monsters. One of the most dramatic is in the shape of a human head, with the eyes and the mouth actually moving. Babots can be moved by instructions programmed into a computer and are light and easy to transport when deflated.
Although sometimes painful, an athlete must exercise, stretch, and strengthen his muscles to help him achieve optimum performance without serious injury. On the next day of discovery, we'll see that this concept applies to the spiritual life as well. Teacher Paul Van Gorder concludes his study on the book of James with some practical help on how to endure temptation and trial. Join us for this important study and inspirational music on the next Day of Discovery.
Rather rainy day, to say the least, here on the Panhandle. It's been that much, in fact, over the entire southeast. And it doesn't look like it's going to get any better on Sunday. In fact, the rain will probably diminish late Sunday night, early Monday, and we can look for clearing skies again Monday afternoon through Tuesday. Until then, buckle up and bring out those umbrellas. Currently, as we check the radar, we can see where the source of this problem is located. At least for us, it's more or less cleared out, but not for long. There's a band of showers just to the southwest of us that's moving to the northeast, and there's some showers over Pensacola. A wide band that is moving our way. Nothing serious, but it looks like it's going to be coming our way fairly soon. Checking our skies tonight, still cloudy skies, and the temperature, believe it or not, is still 50 degrees. Last night I got down to 49. Today's high is 64. Out over the Gulf, it's better you may stay indoors tonight. We have a small craft advisory that's in effect. Easterly winds 20-25 knots, and seas offshore 6 to 9 feet. Our local forecast tonight calls for an 90% chance of rain. By tomorrow, it's going to be an 80% chance of rain, and we look for that clearing out, hopefully, by Monday. We'll be back with more after this.
Motor Trend Car of the Year. No one else has ever won this award 2 years in a row. Then again, no one else builds cars like these. Last year, it was Taurus, chosen for its innovative new design and engineering. And this year, after several outstanding new automobiles were put through a very demanding testing process, one emerged as the leader, Ford Thunderbird Turbo Coupe. If you didn't buy or lease your last car from Cook Whitehead Ford, you probably lost money. The leader, Cook Whitehead Ford.
A family in Durango, Colorado believes that wolves have had a lot of bad press lately. And to prove their point, they've adopted some wolves. Janet Lubin explains why.
These wolves live with people and are comfortable enough around a human to, well, just be wolves. But a wolf in the wild is a different story. And den mate Ron McFarland says the chance of a wild encounter like Little Red Riding Hood's is very remote.
A wolf is a very shy and timid animal. You'll never see the wolf in the wild. He'll disappear before you ever get there. You might see his tracks.
But you certainly wouldn't be eaten by one like scenes like this would have you believe. McFarland says it's movies and tales like that that give wolves a grisly reputation. He says there's not one documented account of a wolf attack in North America, and it's the hybrid or cross between a wolf and a dog that's the unpredictable animal.
The wolf can bite through the leg bone of an elk in one bite. So you mix the power of the wolf with the natural aggressive tendencies of a dog, and you've got an animal that is unbelievable.
But it's the wolf that gets the bad rap, and the McFarlands have made it their cause to present the facts and dispel the fiction. The McFarlands would rather see these guys back in the wild, but consider them ambassadors whose sacrifices to educate us about their species. In Durango, Colorado, Janet Lubin reporting for NBC News.
Look at the countries of the world. Just think a moment. The countries of the world that this book is predominant. There's freedom. The countries of the world that have a little bit of this book, there's a little freedom. The countries of the world that have none of this book, there is no freedom.
Don't miss Jimmy Swaggart's insightful message this week, The Philosophy of Christianity.
Well, Mike, college basketball had a lot of big games today.
Glenn, a lot of big games is because it's the end of the regular season, really only about another week left, folks. And all these teams have their eyes on perhaps the NCAA tournament or perhaps even the NIT.
Coming up.
So it's do or die for most of these clubs right now. Well, if you were watching TV7 this afternoon like I was, you would have seen two of the nation's elite battling it out. The Big Ten Showdown featured number 7 Iowa at number 2 Indiana. First half from Bloomington, Iowa in black. Brad Lohaus misses inside. Here come the Hoosiers. That's Keith Smart with the basketball. Now watch the pass. A great feed to Dean Garrett, who slams it down. Indiana with great passing as usual. Well, the Hawkeyes countered at the other end. Jerry Wright, alley-oop to Roy Marble. Excellent timing. And that did not sit well with Indiana coach Bobby Knight. He says, give me a chair so I can hit the referee. But Bob, take a BC powder. Things would pick up. After the steal here, Joe Hillman feeds up court to Keith Smart. Smart for the layup. Indiana led it 46-27 at the half. In the second half, it was more of the same. Joe Hillman to Darryl Thomas. Thomas with the jam despite the foul. The Indiana Hoosiers go on to beat Iowa 84-75. Well, third-ranked North Carolina took care of number 10 Clemson 96-80, giving the Tar Heels their 14th ACC title in 21 years. North Carolina is 25-2 overall and 12-0 in conference play. This is first half action from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Kenny Smith on the break for the Tar Heels. He gets it to Jeff Lebo, who lays it in. North Carolina led 44-32 at halftime. In the second half, Michael Brown has the ball stripped away by Lebo to Kenny Smith. Back to Lebo. Now to J.R. Reed for the slam. Boy, with the Tar Heels fired up. Then later on in the second half, the Tigers guarding Jeff Lebo tightly. He passes across court to Kenny Smith. He drives, jams it home. North Carolina downs Clemson 96-80 is the final score there. Well, one of the day's few upsets took place in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Georgia Tech knocked off number 17 Duke in Durham, North Carolina, 79-72. The Blue Devils dropped to 21-6 on the year. Georgia Tech led Duke from the outset, but the Blue Devils did come within 4 at halftime on this 18-footer by Quinn Snyder. But the playmaker, Craig Neal, engineered a run by the Yellow Jackets on this feed to Dwayne Farrell, who scored 15 of his 16 points in the second half. Georgia Tech took a 58-46 lead as Neal hit Bruce Dalrymple inside for the three-point play. Then Duke came alive. Tommy Amaker with a steal. He took it the other way, hitting Kevin Strickland on the break as the Blue Devils pulled to within 8. Danny Ferry hit three-point shots down the stretch. Duke cut the lead 67-63, but Georgia Tech called on Antoine Faudere to put it on ice. He did it right there, knocking off Duke 79-72. In the nation's top 20, a lot of action. First-ranked Nevada, Las Vegas routs New Mexico State 80-69. As I told you about, second-ranked the Hoosiers down Iowa. Also, as we saw, North Carolina, a few problems with Clemson. Temple by 11 over George Washington, 88-77. In a Big East game, 8th-ranked Pittsburgh over Connecticut, 76-66. 12th-ranked Alabama by a deuce of Auburn, 77-75. Oklahoma demolishes Big 8 rival Nebraska, 133-97. Well, 15th-ranked the Jayhawks by a bucket over 20th-ranked St. John, 62-60. That game was played at Madison Square Garden. 17th-ranked Duke, as we saw, lost to Georgia Tech. Texas Christian defeats Texas Tech. 18th-ranked Florida at the O'Connell Center in Gainesville tonight destroys the Canes of Miami. The final 99-60. In other collegiate action in the Southland, Georgia by 4 over Mississippi, 69-65. Tennessee was upset by Mississippi State, 62-60 in high school round ball tonight. And the Southeastern Conference Christian All-Star game played in Mobile tonight. The South All-Stars defeated the North All-Stars 136-83. Panama City Christian Stars Pat Shaw had 35 points, and Joel Murr, well, he added 17. All evening action in the NBA. The Knicks lost to the Nets 111-107. Pistons defeat the Hawks in Detroit 102-97. In overtime right now, the Warriors and the Mavs are tied up at 103 apiece. Rockets defeat the Jazz 94-81, and the Celtics few problems with the Spurs in San Antonio. Well, T.C. Chen fired his second straight 4 on the par 67 to take a one-shot lead over Danny Edwards after 3 rounds of the L.A. Open. Chen, a 28-year-old native of Taiwan, is 9 under par at 204 with 18 holes left to play.
T.C. Chen was sailing right along at Riviera. He was minus 11 and on his way to a big lead. But then the wheels fell off with 2 bogeys down the stretch, including 1 at 18. Suddenly, the lead is just 1.
I would say the 18 is not really tough today because the wind was helping. Okay, but I missed the fair. I missed the drive and hit the tree. Just came down still about 230 to the hole. That's a long way, and especially that's against the wind. So I just try and make bogey there.
Yeah. Danny Edwards started the day in second place. That's where he wound up. A stroke back at 205. Nice birdie on 17. First round leader, Bobby Watkins, ready to make a final push. He's just 2 back with a round to go. Mike Smith for NBC News.
Local favorite Cindy Rarick won the 3-round Hawaiian Ladies Open by 2 strokes over Jane Geddes. Rarick, who attended the University of Hawaii in the late 70s, fired a tournament low 5 under par 67. Well, the Panama City Mall is not usually where a sporting event is held, but that was a sight late this afternoon for the 4th annual Junior Mr. Panama City Bodybuilding Contest. There were plenty of cheers and wolf whistles from the large throng which gathered at center court in the mall. A number of area youngsters flexed the old biceps and triceps to the accompaniment of crowd support. The event sponsor is Pat Spoor of Health World. Earlier in the week, he commented that the show has attracted a lot of interest in the sport of bodybuilding. And it was no different today. The panel of judges selected Mitch McLemore for the best physique. Second place went to Johnny Alderman, and Andy Levins takes 3rd place. A lot of beefcake at the mall this afternoon. Well, Ireland's Eamon Coughlin set a world indoor record last night in Los Angeles, running the 2,000 meters in 4 minutes and 54 seconds. The popular Irishman stayed back in second place until about 100 yards past the half mark when he took over the lead in the GTE Los Angeles Times track meet. At the mile mark, it was evident the other runners were just running for second. Coughlin set a strategy to capture the world record. Normally, he trails the pack and then steals the race toward the end. But last night, he captured the lead early on and just increased the lead lap after lap. Steve Scott, who previously held the record for this event, finished in 4th. Coughlin gave an outstanding performance before the folks at the L.A. Forum. Well, Kansas City Royals manager Dick Hauser had removed the cancerous brain tumor last July. His doctor said it was the most deadly kind of tumor. But Hauser showed the kind of off-the-field courage that surprised even those who watched and managed his team to victory in the 1985 World Series. Hauser, who makes his off-season home in Tallahassee, was in Fort Myers today for the first day of spring training camp. He received a standing ovation.
Began today for Kansas City's Boys of Summer. The Royals formally began spring training with many of their big names on hand, including one who wasn't expected, manager Dick Hauser, greeting veterans and rookies.
Hey, John, nice to see you. How you been?
A few months ago, there weren't many people who would have bet on Dick Hauser being back here today, or being back anywhere as a working manager. He has been one of the most successful managers of the past decade. In 1985, he led the Royals to victory in the World Series, and last July managed an American League team to one of their rare wins in the All-Star game. That very night, he was taken to a hospital. A tumor was found in his brain. It was malignant. Surgery could only remove part of it. There was a second operation in December, followed by radiation treatment and chemotherapy.
It's not fun. It's still day-to-day with me.
So this day, his return surprised almost everyone, except Hauser.
But I planned on this the day after the first surgery. In July, I'm right where I want to be in my uniform.
How does he look to you?
Different. He looks a little bit different, but he looks good.
Hauser's lost 15 pounds, but says he feels well, although he does take brief afternoon naps. His team has missed him, especially in the last half of the 1986 season.
I think it's evident that when he left last year, it was tough on the team. We just could never really get it going.
He gave us the old speech this morning to go get him.
The Royals think Hauser has set an example.
He showed us what it's all like to be in a battle. He's in the biggest battle of his life right now, and if we can battle half what he's battling right now, we should win our division easily and the World Series.
Hauser's traveling may be limited in the preseason games, but he says he'll be on the road with the Royals come April, on the road to a great year.
I'm here, and I feel good, and we're ready to go.
Fred Briggs, NBC News, Fort Myers, Florida.
So it's that time again. Spring training has begun. One club which is expected to challenge for the American League East title has to be the Detroit Tigers. Let's go to Lakewood and find this report.
As the Tigers opened camp for pitchers and catchers, the main item of interest was the $1.8 million man, pitcher Jack Morris. He comes to camp as one of the highest-paid players in the game, but to Morris, the salary issue is behind him.
Oh, I'm sure there's going to be the guy in the cheap seats making a few comments now and then, but that's something ball players and pro athletes in general have to live with. It was only 4 years ago that I was the highest-paid player in Detroit Tiger history, so I've been through it before. You know, basically I have to ignore it all. I have to go out there and continue to work hard and do my job, and that's what I'm paid for.
And to talk to the other players, Big Jack's salary is no problem for them.
Oh, I think it's great because I think that he's the best pitcher in the game today, and if he can't make that money, and if anybody's ever jealous of him, they better, you know, sit down and start reevaluating what they've done over the last 10 years and see if they're anywhere close to what he's done, and I think it's fantastic.
There's a little different look at Tiger Town this year because there are faces other than that of Lance Parrish in line for the catcher spot, and for Sparky Anderson, that's a big loss.
I don't think anybody would be kidding themselves if you think that you can give up the premier guy in the American League, and he's like Carter is over in the National League, and expect not to be hurt.
As it appears now, Mike Heath and Dwight Lowry will share the catching duties on a platoon basis. From Tiger Town, Buddy Pittman reporting for NBC News.
That's a look at sports. We'll be back following this message.
Ray Hall Chevrolet Buick and General Motors has combined forces to make the greatest savings in our history. Let me give you a couple examples. Brand new, factory fresh, 87 Skylark with a $600 factory rebate plus a $1,000 discount from us give you a total savings of $1,600. Well, how about this 87 Century with $1,200 factory rebate, $1,600 our part, gives you a total savings of $2,800.
So for bargain prices and the best service you ever had, come to Ray Hall Chevrolet Buick in Mariana.
Finally tonight, a 13-year-old high school freshman is proving to be a real karate champ. Warren Saunders has her story.
Jennifer Malloy is only 13 years old, yet she holds a brown belt in karate. For more than 2 years now, Jenny has bravely battled cancer. But in spite of that, last August, just 9 days after major surgery, she competed and won a bronze medal at the National AAU Karate Championships in Atlanta. Her friends here at Notre Dame High School, along with 2,000 more in the Shotokan Karate Clubs, will join together this Sunday, February 22nd, at Schaumburg High School to help in Jenny's kick against cancer.
Jennifer is the type of person that exemplifies karate to the truest sense of the word.
And not only that, as a person, she's probably one of the most wonderful people that I know.
And it's really a hard time. I know when I have a hard time, I need someone to help too. So I just want to be there to help her out.
And we wish you the best of luck, right?
Exactly.
Okay. We'll see you tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, in fact. Until then, bring out those umbrellas. It's going to be wet. Good night.
If you're in business, this could happen to you.
I wish I had listened. I wish I'd stayed away from those four-color print jobs. I wish I'd realized that people don't read all that junk mail. I wish I had become a television advertiser. Hey, who hired you anyway?
Your secretary. She saw us on television.
Hi, I'm Deborah Ash. Television advertising means business. More business for you. Call WJHG TV today. We can help you plan the most effective way to advertise.
WJHG TV 7, Panama City.
Celestial celebrities who